This video is going to be on how to melt aluminum cans, or for that matter any type of aluminum that you can find. This is really dedicated to all the do-it-yourselfers like myself who love to get out and find new projects, use items that you have around the house or items that aren't too expensive to create new things. Quickly here, I'd like to go over the items that we have. Of course, we have plenty of pop cans, aluminum cans of any kind will work. We have in the back a charcoal chimney, stainless steel containers that will fit the size of aluminum that you plan on melting, charcoal briquettes and lighter fluid, or you can use a torch to get the charcoal briquettes going. Whichever method you have that works best is great. We have a hair dryer that provides additional air to the underside of the charcoal chimney to continually increase the heat that we will get off of the charcoal briquettes burning, and which will in turn help us melt the aluminum. We have a stainless steel spoon to scoop out any slag or debris that will surface on top of the molten aluminum. We have metal elbow and pipes. This is what will hook up to the ABS pipe that hooks to the hair dryer that will aim up under the bottom of the charcoal chimney, and we use metal because if you use plastic you'll find quickly that the ashes from the charcoal briquettes will fall down and melt your fittings there. So that's important. And the other important thing, probably most important that we have, is our safety equipment. We have glasses to protect our eyes, and a face shield is the most effective in protecting your face. We also have gloves. I have welding gloves that I'm going to be using today, and a pair of pliers to grip the side of the can when we're going to pour it. Now, when you get to pouring, these cans that I'm putting in, or the containers to melt the aluminum in, are going to be just slightly taller than the aluminum cans themselves. Will hold maybe 1 to 2 pounds of aluminum at the most. So if you're going to do anything bigger than that, you shouldn't use a pair of pliers, because when it gets heavy it gets awkward, and that's when you have more of a chance of causing damage to yourself or to others. And lastly, we have an old used muffin tin. It's a good place to get your aluminum melted and pour it in and create ingots, and anything you have that's has a higher melting temperature than aluminum would be great to pour out your finished aluminum once you've cleaned the slag off. Then those ingots themselves are very easy to use to remelt later on for additional projects. Okay, the next step what I've done here is I'm showing you how to set this up. Take your hair dryer, make sure that it's not sticking down in the dirt or in the grass so that it can suck in air. Duct tape it to your pipe, and again I have an 1.5 inch ABS pipe, and then run it over and hook it up to your elbow with the rubber coupler. And underneath these cinder blocks, comes under the cinder blocks, and you can see the elbow coming up. So that will supply the additional air to your charcoal chimney. Very simple. Need a couple cinder blocks. They can take the heat that will come off of this, and they'll be sturdy and stable for the project that you're about to do. Next, what we need to do is we need to take our stainless steel container. We need to grab some charcoal briquettes and load this about halfway full. Now this is going to depend, how many you put in will depend on the size of your container that you're using. It just takes a minute. What you want to do is load it about half full, and then go and pack the charcoal briquettes around the remainder of this so your container is in pretty tight. I'll get that ready and I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. Now here is an example of what it should look like when we're finished getting the charcoal briquettes in. Okay, now we've got the fire started. I'm going to have my assistant go and turn on the hair dryer. Okay, now the fire's been going for about 5 minutes, and as I inspect the inside of the container, it is starting to glow red, so that gives me an idea that this is now ready to start adding aluminum cans. So I'll go ahead and add the first one. And one really important thing is to always put your cans with the mouth of the can facing upwards, because the sugar or any leftover residue that's in the can, once the cans start melting, will create a burst of steam, and if the can is upside down, you are more likely to have that burst of steam come out and bubble molten aluminum on you. So be very careful always. If the can is crushed, you're okay, but if it's a full can like this, you need to set it in like that. The first can generally takes the longest to get started, and once you have a small pool of molten aluminum in the bottom, then, and I don't know if you just saw that, but the little puff of steam came out. But once you get that little pool of molten aluminum, the cans will just start feeding in and feeding in. And this is where your little spoon can come in handy. You can give it a slight nudge. I found you want to be careful not to use any pointed objects, such as even the end of this spoon, because when that stainless steel is molten, or it's red hot, then it's easy to puncture a hole in the side of it. So we'll add another can. And we can just gently let it come down, or we can just wait for it. And there goes the puff of steam again that we have to watch out for. And we'll just keep on adding and watch for that puff of steam when it will hit. So if you're aware of that, I think you can do this very safely. This is 4 cans in just a very short time. I'll pause the video now, and I will add approximately 30 cans per pound of aluminum. And once you scrape off the slag, you may not have a full pound. So, excuse me, I would say probably 40 to 50 cans. You might come pretty close to a full pound of aluminum. Okay, we are at number 10 on the cans, and they're starting to go really fast now with just a little bit of help. They're going down nicely. Now once you add about 20 cans, maybe even a little bit less, just watch the top, you'll need to scrape off the slag. That's going to be any of the impurities that will come from the cans itself, and that will float to the top. And that's where we also use our big stainless steel spoon. Both of the spoon and the containers I just got at Walmart. I bought a set of the 3 containers for about $15. This is the middle. This is the small size, and I have a mid size and a larger one also. And the spoon, $4 or $5 at Walmart. So very small investment that way. Charcoal chimney. You can get these at Sportsman's Warehouse or any other big store that has camping supplies. About $15 to $20. Okay, here's a good example of the container, how it gets really red hot. And what you can see on top is the slag. The molten aluminum's underneath. And we'll add a few more cans. Well, it's actually probably about ready to take that off. If you have too much slag, it's not as hot as the molten aluminum, and your cans will not melt quite as fast. So keeping the slag skimmed off will get your project done quicker. Let's clean that off. I'll show you how I do that. Just take the spoon and scrape gently along the top. And all this here, you can kind of tell it almost looks like burned tin foil. I take it out and just get rid of it. Let it cool. And then go ahead, once you have the slag cleaned off the top, add more cans, and add about 15-20 cans, and then clean your slag off, or just depending on the size of your container, you just have to watch it. I'll go ahead and add some more cans too. Right now we have about 20 cans, and I would say we've got about a half an inch, maybe a little bit more from what I can tell in the bottom of this container. There we go. You can see why it's good to use welding gloves. They can withstand the heat because you have to reach close to the flame. Okay, we're about to 30 cans, so I'm going to let this final one melt down, and then we're going to clean the slag. Here you can see some of the slag that we pulled out earlier that's cooled. There is some aluminum in it, but I don't worry too much about that. And now I'm going to attempt to get a video of inside. Okay, I try to get this slag off. And I hope you can see there the molten aluminum. There we go. Yeah. So that's about what we want to do. I want to keep it clean. Keep it about that clean, and then add more cans to it. So we'll just keep going, and we'll probably fill this container most of the way up, so it's going to take about probably 120 cans or more. And then we'll use it to try to pour a mold. As I mentioned earlier in the video, we can use an old muffin tin to pour out the aluminum to save it for later. I'm going to give you an idea of what these look like. This was after I cleaned off the slag and poured them. So now what I'm doing is I'm actually adding some of these ingots back into my container. That will go a little bit faster, and I'll have obviously less slag to have to take care of. So I've got one sitting here on top. I've actually added a couple of them, so I am going to repurpose these. So anytime you have extra, just pour them into some ingots, and you'll be just fine. You can always use them later. Okay, now we're to the end, and we've got the equivalent of about 120 aluminum cans, maybe even a little bit more with those ingots. That really sped up the process. So now we're going to get ready to pour our mold for a hammer.